Is it true that drowning happens in complete silence? In movies, it's loud, splashing, screaming, waving arms, but real life might look nothing like that at all. Lifeguards say the scariest cases are often the quiet ones. Could someone really be in danger without making a sound? Or is silent drowning just another dramatic exaggeration? Today we put this life-saving myth to the test. Myth or reality? Let's dive in. For most of the 20th century, this is exactly how we pictured drowning. Early water safety posters showed big splashes and waving arms. Movies leaned into the drama, screaming, thrashing, calling for help. It became the image everyone expected to see. Lifeguard training followed the same assumption for generations. Watch for splashing, listen for shouting, that was the rule. But some experienced lifeguards began noticing something strange. Real emergencies sometimes looked nothing like the training manuals described. In the 1970s, a water safety researcher named Francesco Pia started studying this closely. He filmed real distress situations, and the footage surprised everyone. People in real trouble often looked eerily calm on the surface. He named the pattern the instinctive drowning response. For years, the idea mostly stayed within lifeguard and rescue circles. Then, in 2010, everything changed. A former Coast Guard rescue swimmer named Mario Vitone wrote an article explaining it in plain language. It spread online faster than almost anyone expected. Parents, teachers, and lifeguards everywhere suddenly saw pool safety differently. It reshaped water safety training around the world. But how much of it actually holds up scientifically? Let's find out where the myth ends and the biology begins. Let's start with the core biological reason behind all this. When your body senses it can't breathe, breathing instantly becomes priority number one. Every other function, including talking or shouting, gets pushed aside. The body physically can't spare breath for words when oxygen is running low. It's not a choice, it's an automatic survival response. This is called the mammalian dive and survival reflex. It's deeply built into our biology, shared with many other mammals. Your airway essentially prioritizes protecting itself above all else, which means physically, sound production takes a back seat. It's the body's way of giving itself the best possible chance. For choking specifically, there's another key mechanism at play. When the airway is fully blocked, air simply can't pass through the vocal cords. No airflow past the vocal cords means no sound can be made, not even a whisper. That's why someone truly choking usually can't yell for help. Physically, in that moment, calling out loud isn't really an option. Body movement changes too, in a very specific way. Instead of waving for attention, arms tend to press down instinctively. That pressing motion helps push the mouth above the surface for a breath. The body often stays upright, almost like climbing an invisible ladder. From a distance, it can look surprisingly ordinary. Real recorded rescues back this pattern up again and again. Trained lifeguards describe noticing something was wrong through subtle, quiet cues. Some parents have described standing just feet away without realizing anything was wrong. These quiet moments can pass in under a minute, sometimes far less. Recognizing the quiet signs in time has genuinely saved lives. Lifeguards are specifically trained to watch for stillness, not just splashing. Signs like a vertical body position or a head tilted back are now considered major warnings. Parents are now taught these same subtle signs during basic water safety courses. Rescuers describe it less like a scene from a movie and more like someone quietly struggling to stay afloat. For people trained to spot it, the pattern is remarkably consistent. There's also a simple, universal signal built around this exact idea. It's the internationally recognized sign for choking. It exists specifically because people who are choking usually can't speak or call out. The gesture is now taught and recognized almost everywhere in the world. It's designed to work exactly because words often aren't an option. Today, most major safety organizations agree on this basic picture. Real distress in water or from choking is often quiet, not loud and dramatic. It's why modern safety training focuses so heavily on close, active supervision. The core idea that silence can signal serious trouble is well supported. So on paper, the case for "it's often silent" looks very solid indeed. Let's add an important nuance to this picture. Drowning isn't always one single, instantly silent moment. There's often an earlier stage called aquatic distress, and it can involve visible splashing or waving. Only the later stage tends to match that classic silent description. So calling it instantly and completely silent from the very first second isn't quite accurate. The full picture includes both stages, not just the quiet one. Age and swimming ability also change the picture. Young children and inexperienced swimmers don't always follow the exact same instinctive pattern as adults. Some children do splash, cry out, or struggle noisily before going quiet. That's part of why supervision guidelines apply to noisy struggles too, not only quiet ones. Silence is one major warning sign, but it isn't the only one. Experts stress watching for a whole range of signs, loud or quiet. It also helps to think of this as a spectrum, not a single switch. A person can move gradually from struggling normally into that quieter, instinctive stage. It's rarely an instant, dramatic flip from loud to silent. That's exactly why trained observers watch continuously, not just for one specific moment. The transition can be smoother and messier than the myth suggests. Real events don't always fit neatly into one simple label. The same nuance applies to choking. If the airway is only partially blocked, some sound can still get through. Wheezing, gasping, or a weak cough are still possible in some choking cases. Safety experts actually teach the difference between mild and severe choking for exactly this reason. If someone can still cough forcefully or speak, that's usually considered a milder case. In many cases, encouraging them to keep coughing is actually the safest first step. True, complete silence usually points to full obstruction, the most urgent version. This is really where the word absolute becomes the sticking point. Often quiet and always completely silent every single time are two very different claims. Real cases vary by age, health, water conditions, and exactly how the emergency unfolds. Exceptions absolutely exist on both sides of the pattern. So absolute silence every single time without exception is a bit too strong a claim. Usually much quieter than people expect is the more accurate version. There's also a subtle risk in oversimplifying this myth. If people assume real trouble is always completely silent, they might dismiss a genuinely noisy struggle as harmless. Noisy splashing and calling for help can still absolutely indicate real danger too. The safest approach treats both patterns seriously. Good supervision means watching closely for any sign of struggle, not just the quiet ones. The goal is broader awareness, not a narrower checklist. So where does official guidance actually land on all this? Most major safety organizations describe drowning as often quiet rather than always silent. The specific wording matters more than people usually realize. It's meant to correct outdated Hollywood expectations, not create a brand new absolute rule. Parents and caregivers are taught to watch for a wide range of signals overall. Silence is one major, often overlooked clue, not the only one that matters. That balanced approach saves more lives than either extreme alone. So the myth isn't built entirely on nothing. It's built on very real biology and very real rescue experience. It's just slightly overstated by that one strong word, absolute. The honest version is a little less dramatic, but no less important. Usually much quieter than expected, almost certainly not perfectly silent in every single case. Which brings us to the moment you've been waiting for. It's time for the verdict. Does absolute silence really happen during drowning or choking? Based on the evidence, the honest answer is mostly reality. Real drowning and severe choking usually are far quieter than movies show us. The biology behind it is solid. Breathing takes priority, and blocked airways can't make sound. But the word absolute pushes it a little too far. There's often an earlier, noisier stage before things go quiet, and real cases genuinely vary, especially with children or partial blockages. It's not one single rule that applies perfectly every single time. The myth isn't that silence happens. The myth is treating it as one absolute rule with zero exceptions. In reality, it's usually much quieter than people expect, just not perfectly uniform every time. Most safety experts would call it often silent, always worth watching closely. So the next time you're near water, remember, quiet doesn't always mean safe, and loud splashing shouldn't be dismissed either. Both deserve your attention. Verdict: mostly reality with one word, absolute, pushing it slightly too far. Not a myth, not a strict rule either, just nuanced. And honestly, that's how most life-saving safety facts actually work. Which brings us to one more surprising twist you probably didn't expect, because the story doesn't quite end here. Here's a twist that's honestly more fascinating than the myth itself. This whole silent reflex is actually an incredibly fast, built-in survival system. It happens in a fraction of a second, without any conscious decision at all. Your body essentially overrides your own voice to protect your airway. It's one of the fastest, most efficient reflexes the human body has. In a strange way, that silence is actually your body working exactly as designed. It's not a malfunction, it's a feature feature built by evolution itself. It's one of the most underrated survival mechanisms in the human body. Your airway has its own quiet, built-in bodyguard. It reacts faster than you could ever consciously decide to shout for help. So the silence isn't a sign of giving up. It's the body fighting incredibly hard, just quietly. And that's not even the most surprising part of this story. Remember that universal choking gesture from earlier? It wasn't invented by a scientist in a lab. It grew naturally from real emergencies. Safety organizations eventually standardized it, and today it's recognized almost everywhere on Earth. It's taught in schools, workplaces, and safety courses around the world. And it works precisely because it needs no spoken words at all. That one viral article about silent drowning had a similar ripple effect. It genuinely changed how millions of parents watch their kids near water, and it reshaped lifeguard training standards in pools and beaches worldwide. Simple, accurate information like this has genuinely helped save lives. It's a reminder that busting a myth carefully can matter just as much as any dramatic rescue. Sometimes the most powerful safety tool is simply knowing what to actually look for. And now, you know exactly what that looks like. So what should you actually take away from all this? Watch closely near water. Quiet, still bobbing can be just as serious as loud splashing. Learn the universal choking sign and take it seriously if you see it. And if you can, learning basic CPR or rescue skills is genuinely one of the most valuable things you can do. A little bit of knowledge here can make an enormous difference. And that's the real story behind the myth of absolute silence. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth with us, hit like and subscribe for more myths busted. See you in the next investigation. Stay curious and stay safe.